You asked for it. Here it is. It's a podcast from Apathetic Enthusiasm.
In this episode, we are coming to you live from San Diego Comic-Con, recording from the convention center. It's Apathetic Enthusiasm. Hey everybody, I'm Travis.
Hey everybody, I'm Brandon. And we don't actually know how loud we're supposed to talk in the mics. I think we're talking to each other. We have these little fuzzy things on here. If you're watching a video, if the video doesn't fuck up.
Which is a very high possibility.
Very high possibility. We'll see it. But we're using some mics. We're here on location. We're in the back. You can see the bay. It's beautiful.
You can see the bay. We're standing in a shady spot outside,
which is good for me because the whole sun thing I'm not really great with. But there's some housekeeping out of the way.
Yeah. Let's see if we can do this by memory. So if you're new here, you can follow us. We are at Apathusiast on Twitter. We still use that occasionally, right? You can follow our socials, apathetic_enthusiasm on Instagram. We're posting a few videos from the event over there. And also apatheticenthusiasmshow@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook. We stream live on Twitch every so often at twitch.tv/apatheticenthusiasm. You can also get video content over at youtube.com/apatheticenthusiasm. Follow our Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/apatheticenthusiasm, then you can help support us actually being out here for San Diego Comic-Con. And what did I miss?
Oh, that's good. that was solid.
I feel like I do this every week.
Or I wasn't paying attention and I don't actually know what you said.
Just go to Instagram. Instagram's the place to be right now. So and if you're listening, go follow at Rick and Morty Pod.
Yes.
POD, Rick and Morty Pod over on Instagram.
Very good catch.
We had a bit of a snafu, a community standards issue. We aren't exactly sure why it happened, but we are no longer at our old Instagram for interdimensional RSS. Yeah. So we're looking to rebuild, looking to build up that new one. If you get a chance to follow us over there, it would be very helpful. We appreciate that.
Extraordinarily helpful.
That's not why we're here. We're not here to talk about our socials.
No.
We're at San Diego Comic-Con. We have been here for, I think, 87 days now. At least that's what it feels like.
It feels like that's what my immune system thinks is happening. Anyway, whenever I sit down, I'm like, am I getting sick? Maybe I'm getting sick. Which is great that we're standing so close.
Yeah, it's good. We'll be within 6 feet of each other for at least 10 minutes. But yeah, it is Saturday. So that is technically day 3 of the convention. We've been here for 4 days. We came down on Wednesday for a preview night as well. We have gotten to see and do a ton of stuff. So we figured we'd take some time while we're still here and while it's all fresh in our minds to talk to you, the listeners, about all the things we've seen, some of the things that really stood out to us, and just share what the experience has been so far for 2023 San Diego Comic-Con. So what's first on the list, Brandon?
First on the list is that where we're standing right now, there's a big ass billboard on the other side of the hall, and it's on the side of a building. It's Good Burger, the sequel, but it's a giant hamburger with eyes just staring at us,
staring into our souls.
There's crowds of people like walking past. Certainly, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But
that
happens. Gigantic friggin' hamburger with eyeballs. Anyway, so the first thing we really want to talk about is the exhibit hall, right?
It's huge.
This is your first time ever being here?
No, my first time to San Diego Comic-Con was around probably 2004, 2005.
Okay.
Just bought a single day pass just to kind of check it out. Originally from this area, so it wasn't a travel concern. But I checked it out. It was weird because back then San Diego Comic-Con was still huge, but it hadn't been infected by all of the big studios pushing all their movies. I think like Lord of the Rings was the big property at the time. Yep. So we came out for that, but I haven't been back in almost 20 years.
All right. So the exhibit floor is probably much more crowded than it was the first time you were here, maybe.
I vaguely remember it being crowded, but I don't think it was nearly this crowded.
Okay, all right. Speaking of crowded, so there's lots of booths, right? You talk about specialty booths. I think the year I came was a Walking Dead, and I don't know what's going on behind me, but the Walking Dead stuff.
I think we're in security's break area also. So if the video works out on this, there's like guys taking their breaks, having conversations, smoking.
It's nice. It's nice and shady.
It's a good spot.
It is a really good spot. But yeah, so the Walking Dead. So super credit. So the booths are really really awesome and fantastic. Funko is known for going like WonderCon, any kind of con. San Diego is no exception, and they just have a humongous booth and a humongous amount of people, large amount of people that want to go get whatever exclusive is there.
Yeah. I think that, to me, my son is really into Funko Pops. He's been collecting them for a little while now. He knew I was coming out here. He was really excited. He's like, Dad, got to check out the Funko booth for me.
Yeah.
And when we use the term booth, I think we use that term loosely.
Yeah.
It's more of a complex.
It's like a mini city.
Yeah, literally. They have street signs set up. They have little shops for all the different Funko properties.
Yeah.
We're talking Funko games, Funko Blockbuster Rewind.
Yeah, the Mondo area is there too.
That's right.
That's
Loungefly backpacks, and then of course the Funko Pops, which is a huge area, big line.
Yeah.
And so we've stopped by there several times. It's regardless of the time of day, it is a madhouse. There's tons of people there, and I have yet to be able to even successfully get into a line.
Yes.
We
like this morning. Today's Saturday. We have nothing really going on today, and so we're like, okay, let's shoot over. Let's get you in line for 4 hours. Who cares? You got to do it. And we got here, beeline for it, and still it was capped out.
Yeah. Like the second we got in. So the cool thing is they do have the lines for all of those locations. Don't stay busy the whole day. And if there's certain things you want, there are ways to get them, but especially for the Pops, my biggest takeaway from this event is if I come to a future San Diego Comic-Con and need to get a Funko Pop, I need to plan ahead. I need to try and get my name into those lotteries and see if you can get like exclusive items, things like that.
If we get press passes again next year, I think the thing that we need to do is use that preview night
to get access to that stuff.
Yeah.
We were pretty like, oh, let's just like roam around and see what's up.
Yeah.
It's a preview. It's not, but there were a lot of people at preview night, and there were a lot of people using that first admittance to access all of those exclusive items, the hard to get things.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Well, I think that's the thing about a preview night too that I was confused by, because I thought it was for press and professionals, but it was also for people who paid extra to get in.
Yeah.
So it was an early day for a lot of people. So that wasn't the only booths. They're like
there's like 4,000 booths or something like that. So
notable booths.
Yeah, we, as we were just preparing for this conversation, we want to talk about some of the booths that really stood out to us, the booths that we found particularly interesting for me growing up as a kid of the 80s, 90s, right? Nickelodeon is tied into my DNA. I have green slime running through my veins.
Yeah, it's on your lanyard.
Yeah, you can see it, right? But yeah, Nickelodeon had a pretty cool booth, I felt. You talk about the burger that's been staring at us as we have this conversation.
Yeah.
They're pitching Good Burger 2. They had a Good Burger restaurant set up on one side of their booth. And then the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie was really their big property that they were pushing.
Yeah.
So they have a whole area that's set up like a street, giant skateboard, full Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle characters coming out, and fans can take pictures of that. One side of it is all Last Airbender.
Yeah.
So just a lot of really cool things. Cabbages. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool, and was one of the booths that I continue to walk by, and even throughout the day or through multiple days, they keep having like new stuff or different stuff there that I'm like, oh, I didn't see that yesterday, and now they have something else going on. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. A couple of notable booths as well, the Star Wars and Ahsoka.
Oh, That I freaked out the second we saw that on preview night. Yeah.
Star lightsaber stuff, things from the actual upcoming live action series. I know very little about her in general.
Yeah,
but,
you got Ahsoka's
but you're
costume.
stoked.
I'm binge watching episodes of Rebels to get prepared. What's the little droid's name?
R2D2.
It's the
BB-8.
other one. Chopper.
BD-1.
Chopper is his name. He's a fiery little astromech.
Yeah.
But he's really cool, and I think we got to see the full scale Chopper and lots of stuff. So I think the booth is cool.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's as much like interactivity. I think for a property as big as Star Wars, it felt like here is one relatively small, if I'm being honest, museum exhibit of Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And then that was it.
Well, here's the thing about booths. When the more interactive they are, the more people want to wait in line. And
This is true.
And so, like, even things like the Marvel booth, there's like there's a big line that leads up to the stage, or the Hasbro booth, same thing. The Doctor Who booth, which I'm surprised is not more packed all the time.
It's smaller than I expected.
Yeah.
It's smaller on the inside.
But that has a lot of people in front of it.
It's bigger on the inside. That was the joke. I caught it.
Got it. Sorry. I'm in nature. I'm not as I'm much more self-conscious about being existing. Zoloft. Yeah, it's an airplane. We're excited about that.
Hey, like we said, this is a live show.
It's natural.
Live
It's natural.
from location.
But the thing about the Star Wars booth is it is much more open, and because it's open, it allows people to come in, experience it, look, take pictures, and then get the hell out. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
So,
And
just like Luke did in A New Hope,
I would assume if things had gone
he
as
blew up
planned,
the Death Star.
yeah,
Went
got in, got out.
Got out. Right.
Trench run. It's a trench run.
It's a trench run, and that's what the theme was.
I think because the studios pulled out of San Diego Comic-Con early, they probably had other things planned. I'm sure they would have loved to promote Ahsoka more from some crazy Hall H panel or something.
Yeah.
If all of the writers and actors strikes hadn't been happening. But it is what it is, and so now they're
Well, I know we have there's other booths and stuff we could talk about, but you bring a good transition point, Travis.
sure.
You're pretty solid with the transitions. I just got to say.
And no one calls them out like you, Brad.
But talking about the panels, talking about the strikes, right? We have gone to a couple panels, and from those panels, there's a notable absence of star power. It's like production.
Yeah.
It's like production teams. It's people walking in front of cameras. It's
Well, it's weird because you have the writers and the actors both striking at the same time.
yeah,
There's a very thin gray area in terms of crew that don't fall into one of those two categories, but can still have any level of recognition or can speak from a position to a crowd about these different properties. So we hit a lot of Adult Swim panels, Teenage Euthanasia coming back this week. Got to interview the creators of that. Rick and Morty, obviously. Rick and Morty's right in our wheelhouse.
yeah.
Those panels actually had people talking at the panels, right? They had creative teams, producers, artists, directors that could speak about the show and provide that insight.
Yeah.
Other panels that we went to the panel for Dan Harmon's new show, Crapopolis. We went to the Solar Opposites panel.
Yep.
I mean, at least Crapopolis had somebody get up on stage.
Yeah. They had I think Pete Michaels, who's like supervising director for Crapopolis. He got up there and talked a little bit about it. Steve Levy, who's the executive producer for Crapopolis, he's also the executive producer for Rick and Morty. He was at both of those panels, so like it's interesting Jacob Hare for the Rick and Morty panel is a director for Rick and Morty. Is now like one of the lead directors. But he was saying on in kind of chats with us that he's like, yeah, like they told us like a week before the event, like we need you to go.
Yeah.
And some of these folks are not performers. Like, they're not designed to go up on stage. Even Teenage Euthanasia, I think that's what I noticed about the woman on the far right. She's very shy. She's like the art director.
She's the art director.
You could almost sense it. Like she's like
her answers were very short.
Yeah,
they
like
were
super shy, and so adorable.
I especially for those rooms, right? Those were in the Indigo Ballroom in the Hilton, the Hilton Bayfront. That is a giant room. like okay, for
lots of people.
To sort of set the tone for it, there are massive screens at the front of the room, and there is a massive screen halfway back through the room so that the people in the back half of the room can see screens. So the gigantic screens are too far away from the people in the back.
Can't emphasize how gigantic the room is.
And then if your job is like to quietly draw cartoon characters, mostly alone in your house since COVID.
Yeah.
And then you're being asked to go get up on a stage and talk about that process in front of thousands of people. I understand that would be a little uncomfortable.
Right. In like you can tell the difference between the people who are used to being up on stage and those who are a little iffy about it. So Kevin Smith, who produced He-Man, Masters of the Universe.
Yep.
We went to his panel, and so he was here. He's SAG, Directors Guild probably, but he was here.
Not only was he here, he was talking about things that I would assume the guilds that he's associated with would probably not be hyped about.
Would frown upon.
Yeah. Which, not to call Kevin Smith out, but he's Kevin Smith, so he's gonna kind of do what he does.
But he was talking. But I think he was giving credit where credit's due to say like, absolutely. Hey, these are the people who are making it happen. It's not me. We have taken your advice and the things you love and hate about Masters of the Universe. But anyway, but you can tell like he's got his performance hat on when he's up in front of people.
Yeah, and he brings that energy. He's used to talking in front of crowds for hours at a time when he does his live shows. So he is very entertaining, very interesting to listen to. Made me want to check out the new season of Masters of the Universe when it comes out. I
gotta be honest.
The way they're describing it, I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. And I think that's the cool thing about panels in general. And not that you need my advice, because you don't. But if you find yourself at a Comic-Con event, I think the exhibit halls usually get a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Obviously, cosplay is always like iconic. Like every time I said, "Hey, I'm going to Comic-Con," people are asking me what I'm going to dress up as, things like that, right? They just associate conventions with cosplay.
Yeah.
But the panels, I mean, obviously, there's panels you're going to want to check out because you're interested in the material already. But some of the panels that we just happened to sit in, or we're sitting in to make sure that we had a seat for the next panel. You'll learn a lot about properties that you may not be familiar with. So that is the nice thing about coming to a convention like this, is you can kind of get more exposure to other facets of pop culture that you're not already aware of.
And like we went to the Robotech panel, waiting for Crapopolis, and like the people did that, right? Like I watched Robotech maybe very briefly in like the mid 80s.
Okay.
My uncle had like a Robotech VF1, I think, toy, and it was so bitchin', but I never watched the actual cartoon. Found out that like it's coming to Crunchyroll, the anime service, streaming service. I'm like, oh, cool. Like now I'll be able to get to watch that. But I wouldn't have known that had I not gone to the panel.
Yeah.
I don't know. I care, but I wouldn't have cared enough to seek out Robotech.
It makes total sense. Total sense. So I think all the Adult Swim panels were interesting, but again, we can't lie and say like the panels were the most amazing thing ever, because I think there is still that cloud over this year's event, because a lot of people that help bring these stories to life, that whether that's through writing the words or performing them, are not here and not able to attend, hopefully the studios, they're being worn down and they can come to an agreement that makes sense for properly supporting those actors.
And I do want to say that there are panels that we didn't get to attend, and the big ones like Family Guy.
We have not been in Hall H at all this entire trip
at all. He's gone.
No, keep rolling. Keep rolling. I'm just getting my water.
Oh, he's just.
For the audio listener, I just unannounced walked away from Brandon to go get my water.
But I thought
it threw him up.
I thought the computer was dying or something.
Good.
Anyways, okay. So no Hall H. There are panels that we didn't go to. These big events we didn't go to, partially because we didn't have time to really wait in line for hours and hours and hours. The Adult Swim, some of the Adult Swim stuff, we had the benefit of doing that because we just happened to be able to have passes, get the special press passes that go into those things. I think if it wasn't just Travis and I, we could spread out a little bit more.
Sure.
I think we could capture more of that type of content.
So this is our pitch for Apathetic Enthusiasm interns 2024.
But so along those lines, right? We have the stuff. We have the convention floor. We have the panels. But there's a ton of shit outside as well.
Yeah,
right? Already talking about the Good Burger.
I think that's something that it does get a lot of coverage. But even if you don't have a pass to San Diego Comic-Con, the entire city kind of gets on board for this event. And a lot of brands, a lot of companies will set up even larger fan activations. Activations, that's the term.
Yeah.
Outside of the convention center that are often free. They don't require a Comic-Con pass for you to go to. The most notable one, of course, being Adult Swim Fest on the green.
Yeah.
Just behind the convention center, they had a large area set up with tons of stuff that you could interact with. They're doing concerts at night. And we went to a preview night of that, which was great because we got an opportunity to experience a lot of the activities, Pop-Tarts tasting rooms, screen printed t-shirts.
Yeah.
And we went back a couple days later in the afternoon, and the place was pretty packed.
It was bumping.
As
a kid.
There's a
kids
DJ
in the
dropping them beats. And but there was a lot of activity and energy, and with that also a lot of lines to be able to experience a lot of those things, which I mean is understandable for a free event that's open to the public.
Yeah, sure. And like the Adult Swim one was 18 and over, so you had to get wristbands for that. And that makes sense because Adult Swim is more adult oriented. It's in the title.
It's in the name.
It's in the name. But there was nothing like super like adult necessarily about being the party, but like live bands and stuff like that, which like music that we don't follow. So it wasn't like I want to stick around to see Jada Friday or whatever her name is.
Yeah. I know you had that pinned on your calendar. So,
but there's some cool stuff in like through the Rick and Morty, like being able to like meet some of those folks and took the golden Rick head, and so they're
that's right. You became very popular. He brought the golden Rick head that he got from the Wormageddon, and a lot. I mean, you weren't like carrying it out and like showing it off the entire time we were walking around yesterday, but you brought it out to the event, which honestly probably excited the people that work for Adult Swim the most.
Yeah.
So they got their social team out. They got some coverage of you. Talked to you a little bit about what it was like to get the Rick head, things like that, which is cool. And it's still like reinforcing the Rick and Morty and the Adult Swim brand and doing a callback. We got to meet for us inside, right? Like this Apathetic Enthusiasm. So for us, as I touch my microphone, it was cool to actually meet some of those people in person.
Yeah.
And build a little bit of rapport and just be like, hey, you're the guy that was there shooting video.
You're Brandon. No, I'm Travis. I'm Brandon. Oh, I thought you were Travis.
Is it Trevor? Travis. Which it's a common mistake. Happens my whole life.
Common mistake. But so like, and we did like the Hulu 2D activation, seeing like Family Guy, Solar Opposites, Futurama, which is coming back. That was cool. That was a cool little experience. And then, but there's like so much stuff also around the city that like, because it's so sprawling. There's events and panels that are in like different buildings where we're like 10-minute walks away.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if I'm going to walk 10 minutes across the city, that means I'm going to miss something over here that I'm going to have to get in line for. And also, if you hate the sun and your skin is burning, you're like, I don't want to walk in the sun right now.
We went to a panel that was in one hotel that is south of the convention center. And in that panel, they gave us a ticket for a free prize that we got.
Yeah.
And in order to redeem that prize, we had to go to another hotel
On the north
of the convention center, which was about at least a 10-minute walk.
Yeah. And the convention center is not small.
It's not
at
small
all.
No.
At all.
So I mean,
But so swag, like
Swag.
Speaking of swag, so yeah, there's lots. There's a benefit to coming every day. If only for like 10, 15 minutes at a time. You're like, because certain booths, like the Fox booth has different buttons every day. The Hasbro booth has different buttons every day, which we didn't do that today.
no, we haven't gotten the Hasbro buttons.
Yeah. Okay.
We already missed Fridays.
That reminds me.
We're gonna have to wrap up this podcast and run down there real quick. But yeah, like those little buttons, the Crapopolis buttons from Fox Animation. If you collect all of them, I think you'll get the whole cat, or at least like the main characters from the new show.
Yep.
We've got poster tubes and
Finally got a poster.
more bags that we know how to carry.
Yeah.
Lots of little things, right? But some of the swag is pretty impressive as well. We've got, I would argue, probably a dozen, if not 20, like enamel pins that have just been handed to us.
Yeah.
Whether that was through the Hulu Animayhem thing. Or,
yeah, like I'm going through and I'm buying shit, and then you came and you didn't buy anything. You bought stuff since. But,
I've since bought some things. Yes.
But you're like, oh, I got a free glass. Now I have another free glass. Oh, I have pins. I'm going home with more stuff that I actually came with.
Yeah. I don't think I actually like swiped a credit card to buy stuff until yesterday.
Yeah.
When in the Owning Press booth, because we had to go see Alex, who was signing Rick and Morty books, and I bought some more Rick and Morty comics. But before that, my backpack was just filling with stuff, and it was just all the free stuff that they kept giving us. So I'm glad I packed a large suitcase and only packed half of it coming out here. So hopefully that's enough for me to be able to get all this stuff.
And I'm glad that I cleaned out my car, especially my trunk, so I have room for everything.
Yeah,
just kidding.
Plenty of space.
Just kidding. I didn't clean out my trunk. But I do want to. I want to shout out a couple people that we've seen. Mainly, also like Randall and Thomas and the Adult Swim guys. Randall did the Rick Mobile, right?
Yeah.
He's super fucking cool. So Jimmy J from an amazing series of Comic Cons, Hawaii.
The name holds. Jimmy J is amazing.
Yes.
He's always been kind to us and supportive of what we do.
Yeah.
Really appreciate him.
Yeah, talking about space, right? Like I bought a Scott Pilgrim versus the World miniature board game, which is huge. But it was the last one at the Oni Press booth.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't have anywhere to put this. So I went up to Jimmy. I was like, hey, you mind if I put this at your booth? He's like, yeah, of course. Well, first he was like, man, if people are asking you for stuff, don't give it to them. And I was like, yeah, no, you're right, man. Can you hold this for me?
Here's the deal. I have to ask you for something. Yeah.
But anyway, so Jimmy's awesome. There's some other folks, obviously.
Yeah.
Jiggy Cruz, who is the other Golden Rickhead winner, he's around here somewhere. I know he's around here somewhere, but
I don't know. Maybe he's coming Sunday. Maybe he's a Sunday only guy.
Maybe. I should have told the Adult Swim guys last night, but
yeah.
Oh well.
Nah, we won't call him out like that.
Sorry, Jiggy.
Overall, as we wrap up this experimental version of our podcast, right? We don't even know how this is going to
Yeah,
turn
that's
out.
probably good. We'll probably delete all of it. It'll be a waste of time.
But yeah, I think this has been a really cool experience for us. We've been able to come out as press, right, and get a lot of content. Obviously, this is something that we do in a press capacity. We're not doing this.
Yeah,
you know,
we're doing this as press. We're not doing it as fans. Really, we hate pop culture.
Yeah, it's the worst.
This whole podcast was just a
ruse.
ploy to jump onto the.
but you know, we're also trying to flex those other, creative muscles.
Turn your body. There you go.
Are you picking up a lot of wind?
No.
Oh.
Picking up. This is so for the video listeners. I'm telling Travis to turn his body, or sorry, the audio listeners.
I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to you, Brandon. No, I think it's been an opportunity for us to practice making short form videos, right? So if you're not following or subscribed to our YouTube, you can check out the shorts that we put up there. We've made some Instagram reels to varying effects.
We've gotten our accounts disabled and deleted permanently. If you're talking about Rick and Morty,
go follow Rick and Morty Pod on Instagram.
Not podcast.
Just gonna foot stomp that one.
The good news is nobody else can have Rick and Morty podcast because
we've destroyed it.
We've destroyed it entirely.
Yeah.
But anyway, so but speaking of social media, follow us at Apathusiast on Twitter, Apathetic_enthusiasm on Instagram, and find us all over the place.
I think we're gonna wrap this up. We gotta head over and first we gotta get those buttons.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna go try and get into one more panel for today. Nathan Pyle from what is it, Strange Planet?
Strange Planet.
Yeah. So he's gonna be doing his panel talking about the new show that he worked on with Dan Harmon, and hopefully maybe he won't talk about that at all actually because reasons. But anyway, we're going to get out of here. Thank you so much for listening to this. Thank you for being supportive of all of our podcasts. And that's it until our next podcast, where we probably recap all this again from inside a studio.
Because the beeping means we're backing up. And we're going to back up this audio and video with an actual podcast. But anyways, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for listening. And thanks for everything.
I appreciate those guys too.
I appreciate those.
It's getting busier out here. We're going to get out of here.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect timing. Bye.